It's raining cats and dogs here. I couldn't leave you like that. I had to come back, do a third one. I didn't want to, but the reason I didn't finish the last one off, and I just mentioned Arash Madani, where I met him. I was just going for a walk, by the way. I'll get back to that when I ran into him. I wasn't at the festival, the Pride Festival. I was just going for the walk on the waterfront. He was at, I think it was at that time, the festival, and I was just walking by that Stubborn Goat in Halifax on the waterfront, and he was sitting there with some friends, and I said, "Is that Arash Madani?" And I just approached him and said hello and told him I was, and I'll leave it right at that. But it's, no, the last time I didn't finish that because it was only 23 minutes left, not 27, times at 27. So I got to get moving here. I got a little more time this time, but I'm just gonna do this session, and then it'll be 3 sessions that look like this, and me getting back in front of my old antique, one of the first digital cameras. Okay. Well, as long as it keeps working, I'm not going to replace it, but eventually get a sharper one, high definition one. It's only like, I think, 430 or something in you know, definition. It's not like even 720, not even 500. It's certainly not 1080, but let's get back on track here. Anyway, yeah, it's like it's raining like cats and dogs here. The wind and the rain is unbelievable. Unbelievable, I'll tell you, the amount of water to deal with in this city, and winds. Anyway, let's get back on track. So back to Arash Madani, and I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about a few other topics I was talking about earlier, and then I'm going to talk about what's going on currently in the CFL. That's how I'm going to end. So anyway, so what happened, I approached him, you Arash Madani, because he's from Truro, Nova Scotia, and I have a lot of relatives in Truro, Nova Scotia, and he knows every one of them. And one was my second cousin that played for the St. Mary's Huskies. He was an amazing hockey player, and he actually tried it with Edmonton Oilers when Wayne Gretzky was there. He reminded me a lot of my son. When my son played with Sidney Crosby, they had the same type of, they were right-hand shots, the same kind of speed and shiftiness, and could score and make plays, and exciting. They were exciting to watch. I'm not bragging or anything, but my son was a good hockey player. He had 118 points, I think, the year Sidney broke the right, had 140 or something like that, 143 or something, in Batham AAA when they won the Irving Challenge Cup, when my son was captain of the team. Anyway, but let's get back on track. And one thing I wanted to say to my son, really, actually, I could have died when I had cancer. I was the lucky one of the 3, but I'm glad I lived, not only just for me, but I'm glad I lived that my son could be born. So I just wanted to say that to my son. I was expecting a call from him, actually. I didn't receive a call, but anyway, I hope he calls later. But anyway, so Arash Madani, yeah. So I told him about my CFL Red Zone rule. I told him basically the intro part, how I come up with the survey did. I gave him all this personal information I trusted him with, because I said I was looking for someone to do an article, and I know he's not popular, you know, but I thought, okay, look at the demographics, the young demographics that only watch the NFL. If he could write an article on my CFL Red Zone rule, which I trusted him with, by the way, that he was very interested in, he wouldn't have given me his email or sent me an email and asked me for my Red Zone rule plan so he could look at it and see what he could do with it and come up with an article. And I had a great title, CFL Really Drops the Ball, and he liked that. I went over the whole thing. I told him when I made the presentation, I told him about how Mark Cohen became interested, and then Mr. Johnson, actually Mr. McDonald, they were VP football operational people, and then Mr. Ambrosi became interested in it. when he became commissioner, and I made a formal presentation to him in the CFL on January 31st, 2018. I told Arash Madani all that. Told him everything. And more. Detailed him, like, you know, like, gave him a lot of information. And then foolishly, because he sent me the email, basically Spyder, because I told him my nickname, and I told him I was on his Facebook page and YouTube. He probably checked me out, because then he sent me an email, and he says, basically, give him my red zone plan of what, you know, that he could see. Probably my presentations, which I sent him, the full presentation I did for the Commissioner CFL, my intro, everything, the rules, everything. So, and the outcome, so he could do an article, right? And I said I would consult with him on it, what I wanted in it, and everything, and he could really expose it. And I thought it would be a good thing, because even though he's really hated by CFL fans, because he's always knocking the CFL, running it down, but I thought about the huge demographic, young generation fan base that the CFL hasn't tapped into, that they don't have, that they need desperately. So I thought it would work, but he was basically, I hate to say it, a sleazebag. I gave him all this information, and I gave him I got back to him in 3 weeks or so to see why he didn't get back to me, anything. He didn't do anything. And then I sent him another email, nothing. And then I sent him an email what I thought of him. And my son was here in the summer around the pool, and we having a swim and a chat and for swim, and I had my son read it when we come out and sat by the pool, and I had him read my email. I have it right here, actually, that I sent to, and what I said to him, and my son said, "Wow, what a great email." He said he deserved every bit of it, what you said to him. He deserved every bit of what I said about him. And, you know, I said I was going to report him to Rogers, but I haven't yet, because I don't want him to lose his job or anything like that. But man, oh man, he did a pretty shabby thing. So, Arash Madani, not cool, but I'm not a hateful person. I don't hold grudges or anything like that. You owe me an apology too, as well. And you owe me my information back, or delete it. I asked him, but I know he probably didn't do that, because he went to shoot his mouth off. He just wanted it for his own personal, his ego. That's all. And by the way, that's the problem with these. They have so much ego. Like, I'm not kidding you. I have to say it, and this is this is the truth. There's so much ego in these people. They're in social media, and there's so much ego. That's the reason why they'll never endorse my CFL Red Zone or get behind it, because they think they know everything about the CFL. They have so much ego. It's unbelievable. So, you know, unlike the people that really count, is the people that buy the tickets and go to CFL games, and the huge NFL only fans in Canada, the CFL don't have, that don't watch the CFL, and all the younger generation sports fans that don't watch the CFL. These are the people that got to get to know my CFL Red Zone role and be exposed to it, because they're all going to be, I guarantee you, instantly sold on it, just like all the 350 now plus and more I've interviewed, exposed it to, and surveyed, and now, of course, Steve Armitage, who endorsed it, who's done 27 Grey Cups, and when you have someone like that that endorses your CFL Red Zone rule, you know you got something big. But you know what? Another thing, and Brosey and the CFL, too much ego, too much ego. They think they know everything, and they don't know anything, because it's just like Mr. Nielsen said, new TSN CFL now broadcaster. He was so right what he said on 3 Down Nation, actually. And I just wish, you know, everybody would treat me with respect, my CFL Red Zone with respect, like the people I surveyed, and like Steve Armitage, who's got a lot of class, by the way. He's not pompous, he's not egotistical, but the problem is a lot of them are, and most of them are on social media. They're unbelievable, and there's a lot of bashers in social media too. But they don't give it, my CFL Red Zone rule, these types of people don't give it the time of day, so it's not going to get exposed, okay? And the real people that keep, without CFL fans, the CFL doesn't exist. Without any fans in any sports franchises, their sports franchises don't exist, okay? Or teams. So, but the demographic, the 20s and 30s, these are the people that needs to find out about my CFL Red Zone rule. And I'm guarantee you, and the NFL only fans in Canada, there's many, many, many of them. I mean, look at their numbers compared. I mean, there's a massive amount of them that aren't watching in our own country, NFL fans that aren't watching CFL football, and those are the people that I got to get my CFL Red Zone rule to. They have to be exposed, and they're going to be blown away by it and sold out a big time, like every other person I surveyed, okay? And Nielsen was talking about things about, okay, and actually Justin Duncan, people that played 3-down football with him in college, don't even watch the CFL, run down the CFL and only watch NFL football. So, you know, I'm very passionate about the CFL. I'm very passionate about my CFL Red Zone rule, which people should respect. And I worked 4.5 years on it. And I've heard comments like that online, I think on the Let's Talk to the Schooner site that say, doesn't matter how much time you work on. There's no respect. I worked a lot, and I listened, and it's like Mr. Nielsen said, you know, someone needs to do a survey, which I did, and find out why they don't like the CFL, and why they don't watch the CFL. And I found out exactly why. My intro, play it back, my presentation, my intro, and the special edition for Mr. Bob Young, I did my intro and went over that, and how I come up with my CFL Red Zone rule, and my survey, and the complaints that the data I gathered, and my CFL addresses all the complaints, and that's why people gravitate to my CFL Red Zone rule instantly and are blown away by it and say, wow, what an unbelievable rule. And they said they would start watching CFL football if my CFL Red Zone rule was implemented and made part of their CFL 3-down game. So anyway, I wanted to say that about Arash Madani, and so it was pretty disgusting. That's all I can say, and humiliating. But you know, he's the one that looks bad. He is, you know, he's not one bit credible, and I can see why people can't stand him. So it was a bad thing in my part to approach him, because I didn't think he was that bad, but he is that bad. He's awful. He's terrible. He's not a good person, and he's so conceited and so into himself and so full of ego that it's unbelievable. So it was a wrong move on my part. So let's talk about what's going on in the CFL now, okay? And by the way, the CFL, get rid of the old logo, go back to the older logo, and get rid of the white lines on the ball. By the way, take them off from the logo. And you know, tweak this a bit, and get some color in our logo. You can't see it in the end zones. You can't see it in anything. It's brutal. It's too dull. You need something brilliant. You need to put it on the ball, a new CFL logo on the ball without white lines, and make our CFL ball this color, or like the NFL color, because it shows so much better on TV. And get those ugly white lines off. And let's bring back our old logo, take the white lines off the ball, tweak it somewhat, and let's get some color in our logo, and let's be proud of our logo again, okay? And Brosie, and start doing some branding and marketing, and stop doing just video ads about yourself. What about what are you doing? You said you're going to make the CFL bigger, better, and strong. You haven't done any of that. You made it weaker. You made it smaller. You know, it's unbelievable. Come on, get with the program. Where's your branding and marketing skills and your business? You know, like you said, you have a business partner. Why aren't you using it? Why are end zones blank? Why aren't there CFL logos at center field? Name and right partner. They want to be a center. They go alongside. Like Mr. Bob Young did the right thing. Alongside, like the Tiger Cat logos at center. Tim Hortons logo's on the side of it at center field. That's the way. But Mr. Bob Young, your end zones are blank. It can't be blank. But look at the NFL, and I watched the Dallas Eagles game in that monster stadium, humongous stadium. Look how they make the backdrops in the end zone. Imagine ours are 20 yards by 65. So how much better it would look too, if you put the color, like if Tiger Cats, but their black backdrop with their Tiger Cat, gold logo on. Wouldn't that be awesome? And every CFL team should be doing that. Every CFL team. The only one that's fully dressed is Edmonton. They have logos in the end zone. They have logo at center field. You can't see the CFL little logos. They're too small. CFL logos should be like NFL logos. They should be on the field as well and in the end zone, the corner, but you can't see them. There's no color. They're not vivid. They're not striking. They don't catch your eye. They're brutal. They're dull. And so are the end zones. They're blank and they're dull. So, and Brosy, get with the program. Bring in a dress-up, mandatory dress-up, home field, CFL team logo and CFL logo policy. That all teams, and no excuses by the way, and that all teams in the CFL have to follow. It's consistent throughout the whole league. And start doing much better in branding and marketing and selling our brand of CFL 3-down football and get rid of that ugly logo and the ugly white lines on our ball. Okay? Clean your act up. Do your job. Okay. So let's get into the CFL right now, okay? So what's happening in the CFL? I'll tell you something that I'm not happy with. And Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans, you know what? I'd love to see you win a Grey Cup, or the Calgary Stampeders. I would love to see you win. But if your team was a dynasty like the Stampeders have been, even though they could have won more Grey Cups, and they lost, and then it was good for the other Red Blacks. That was a fabulous Grey Cup game. So that they won. And the Toronto Argonauts beat the Calgary Stampeders. That's another fabulous Grey Cup game. The one in Toronto, the Red Blacks and the Stampeders, and the Stampeders and the Argonauts in Ottawa. That was 2017, I believe. That was a great Grey Cup. And they lost, Stampeders, but they won last year. So you can say dynasty, well, not dynasty as far as winning Grey Cups, but dynasty maybe being in Grey Cups in the last 5 years. But not all of them, I don't think they were in, no. But they were in 3 of them. So if you, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, or the Helmut Tigers, or the Saskatchewan Roughriders, if you had a team like the Calgary Stampeders, I mean, let's give them credit. Huff Nagel is an amazing GM. Dave Dickinson's a good coach for taking over. You got to give him credit. They have a good organization, and the wear of that Stampeder sweater it's like the Saskatchewan Roughriders or any CFL sweater, but still, they're doing things right. So they're the model franchise. So if Saskatchewan Roughriders or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers or any other CFL team was a model franchise, okay, and they had someone, a running back, like John Cornish used to tire out, remember? He was amazing, but he wasn't on steroids. Now if you know anything about anabolic steroids, you don't tire out, and Harris is still not tiring out. So are they testing him, and Brosy covering it up? He's from Winnipeg. He was at the Labor Day Classic. He wants the Bombers to win. Calgary Stampeders, let's face it, and if this was happening to the Bombers, or the Riders, or any CFL team, you'd be up in alarm too about it. They've been taking away plays from them that were blatant touches. They've been calling penalties on them that weren't penalty. They're trying to deliberately screw them. And you watch this weekend in Winnipeg, and even in BC, they don't want the Calgary Stampeders even in their own Grey Cup in Calgary, and that's terrible. They went to Saskatchewan Roughriders and Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And in Randy and Brosy, I'm sorry you're behind this. And when Dave Dickinson called out the Canadian Mafia, when 2 touchdowns were called back in the Western Final last year against Winnipeg in Calgary, okay, that were obvious touchdowns, they called 2 touchdowns back. Can you imagine? The Stampeders still won. But they should have lost. When they got screwed, they were touchdowns. And they're doing similar things to them this year. And even Bo Levi Mitchell called out the CFL on this. He said it's got to stop, it's got to be fixed, it's got to stop, they're screwing them. This is not right. And by the way, if John Cornish would have been on steroids, right? He should be tested then. He would have been suspended too, he should keep being tested. Is Harris still being tested? And I'll tell you something. He doesn't look like he's slowing down. He looks the same as when he was on steroids. And he was on steroids. He's trying to fake that he wasn't. Well, he was. He got caught. Trying to make up stories that he's not. And then Shea's trying to cover for him. And Ambrosi, you know, he's not doing the testing. They hired a lab to do the testing. And why was it so long before they announced it? A month later? This is not good. And I'll tell you something. I'm not stupid. I play a lot of sports. Stradler, you look like, I'm sorry, look like you're on steroids too. Because like Dave Dickinson said, that it's why he hasn't tired out. He doesn't tire out. And Harris doesn't. They don't tire out. How does a running back and a quarterback that runs that much don't tire out? Unless you're juiced up. And how many more Bomber players are juiced up too? I mean, seriously, I have questions. And a lot of people, you got to use both sides of your brain here. There's something going on here. And if the Calgary Stampeders were doing it, and there was cheating going on, and their players are using anabolic steroids, I'd be calling them out, or the Argonauts or any CFL team, or the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Okay, no CFL team is exempt from this. This is bad for the league, and a bad eye in the league. And I don't think he's being tested, Daniel Harris or Stradler. Why isn't he being tested? What's going on? I like to know. Ambrosi, I'd like to ask you these questions. Would you answer them? I doubt it. But anyway, let's get off that. I mean, I wish the Bombers well, but I don't want to see, it's not fair if there's something going on there. And then Ambrosi's covering it up. And it's still going on, and he's covering it up. Because he wants the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to win. Ambrosi's a very political commissioner. I would never hire him, mainly because of that. And because he belonged to Canadian Players Association. He didn't do anything for the owners. He did everything for them and the Canadian players. He didn't change the Canadian starter ratio or the Canadian ratio. Didn't do anything. When he went on in his road trip saying, about how many less Canadian, you meant 80,000 less than you playing football, and basically saying we need to find a way to play the best available players, start and play at every position in the CFL, on every CFL team. And he talked about no continuity, but 1 year he didn't do anything about any of it. Doing anything to change the Canadian ratio so CFL teams could recruit the best available players to start and play at every position while being handcuffed with a guaranteed Canadian starter ratio and a huge guaranteed half the Canadian roster ratio, which is guaranteed. This is why the CFL is in big trouble. You can't have a league like this. This is not an amateur football league. This is a professional league. You got to operate the league like a professional league. The CFL owners got to operate their own league. They have to dictate who starts and plays in the CFL, not the Canadian players and the Canadian Players Association and their Canadian starter, guaranteed Canadian starter, and huge guaranteed half a roster ratio. And with Ambrosi, a commissioner that fought the CFL in court against this, when the CFL owners years ago wanted to get rid of the Canadian starter ratio, fought him in court. Now, seriously, he belonged to the Canadian Players Association, which I believe he still belongs to. He's not really a CFL commissioner. What has he done? He's in bed with the Canadian players and the Canadian Players Association. That's why the CFL is in trouble this year, big time, and teams are in serious trouble. And their team is depleted. I don't know how Calgary's doing what they're doing. Half their team was completed because of 1 year contracts. They went some to the NFL, but because of the 1 year, 322 free agents, 30 free agents a team. Canadian starter ratio not even touched, still the same. Teams are being handcuffed. It's brutal. Taking players off the street to fill the Canadian starter ratio. This is brutal. So this is the reason the CFL is in big, big trouble. Not any changes, necessary needed changes that were made. And TSN, you know, come on. What has to happen next time in another 2 years? They got to bring down the Canadian Players Association, break them. They got to bring them down, and then they got to lock them out, and they got to get rid of the Canadian starter ratio, and they got to get rid of the 1 year contracts, and they got to allow the best available players to start and play in the CFL at every position without being handcuffed by a Canadian ratio and a Canadian starter ratio, and half the team have to be Canadian with a Canadian half the roster ratio, okay? And there's got to be continuity. CFL owners and GMs got to be able to build their team with the best available players, not one-year contracts. You know, this is being all controlled by the Canadian players and Canadian players for the benefit them, so they go more freely to the NFL. There's half a team down there now, 24 players Canadian. Like Rick Campbell said, that's half a CFL team down the CFL when there's a guaranteed Canadian starter and you have the guaranteed Canadian roster ratio that's got to be filled. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. These are the reasons why the CFL is in big trouble and why it's going down. Ottawa, and it's going to be like Toronto. Look at BC. Look at Montreal. I mean, they got a good team now, but they can't even get an owner. No, because they were so bad for so many years, mainly because of what I just said. The structure has to change. They have to make changes, and they make changes now. These changes got to be made, and they got to bring in the most powerful and the biggest and most exciting and most entertaining new CFL rule in CFL history and in all professional football, and bring my CFL Red Zone rule that will eliminate all the boring, predictable, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone, resulting from too many boring two-down football stops in the red zone. Both completely gone with my CFL Red Zone rule. That will increase amongst 9 CFL teams, okay? An 18% increase of more touchdowns scored in the red zone. Guaranteed, okay? The first year it's implemented. It can easily go to 20 or even 25% amongst 9 CFL teams on an average percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone. Can you imagine an exciting product like that? That's what we need. Spyder's combo. So listen, I'm going to see you soon back on the set. I'm going to do another special edition for the caretaker, Mr. Bob Young, on my CFL Red Zone rule. So take care. All the best to you. Signing off. Check you later. Spyder, here comes Spyder. See you at the Grey Cup game.